me just see. What did you do with the mic? Oh, it's right there. Perfect.
Is that there? It's okay, right?
I think so. Yeah. If you just talk, I'll see if it's. Just say something, and you can do it.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah.
You can hear it.
Well, I mean, I can
Oh,
see
okay,
it.
that's
I
fine.
can see it.
I see, I see. Okay. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Shall we start?
Please.
Okay.
Well, maybe I'll just do a brief introduction for those of you who haven't actually met Geshema yet.
Sure.
So, this is Geshema Lhadron, who's with us from Dharma, originally from the region of India called Ladakh, which is a Tibetan cultural, even though it's technically in India, it's part of the Tibetan cultural sphere for the last many centuries. And she's, now our teacher here at Forest of Wisdom. So please welcome her warmly, and we all look forward to hearing many good explanations of Buddhist philosophy, mindfulness practice, meditation practice. And then starting next week, we'll have like a more formal, somewhat informal, but at least an actual meet and greet where the whole purpose of the day or the morning will just be to welcome Geshema and get to know her. And then starting 2 weeks from today, May 3rd, there will be a new series of classes. Okay, so, and we can talk more about that next week, what the classes will be like in the future.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So it's so good to see you all. I think some of you we met online a few times, I guess, right?
And at the airport.
At the airport, yeah, but we did some classes online.
Right.
So anyway, so there's some differences between seeing in person and then online. So it's good to be here. Thank you, and we'll just continue from Guide to the Buddhist Way of Life, Chapter 6. That I think we read up to like 36 verses. That we said, right?
30.
31st or 36?
31. We finished 31.
Oh, you finished 31.
But you can go, there's so much. Right. You can go anywhere. There's so much to do.
So this series, actually, we were just picking up some, kind of verses from, it's not really go one by one, that, the Guide to the Buddhist Way of Life. How many of you are familiar with that text? Good. So it has 10 chapters, and each chapter have different contents. Chapter 6 is on patience, how to practice patience. It's a very, very practical advice when you get angry, how to tackle with this emotion, and how to really, what is the benefit of practicing patience, and what harm anger or hostility bring you, your friends, your family, and then around. So it's a really, really practical thing, and we were just picking up some verses. So I think we will with that. Usually we start with generating pure motivation, and then also do some visualization, but I'm not sure whether we should do it today or not. Maybe we don't. We have so many tankas, pictures, image. Tanka means like image of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So I guess not really visualization much. Yeah, we just think that all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas surrounded us, helping us to remove our problem or suffering and the causes of suffering. And they are here in person. And then we are here to learn from them, using them as a role model. It is an image, but they are like past masters who have shown this teaching, like very clear, practical kind of instruction how to live our life with ethical, more kind of beneficial, useful person. So because of that, it's really, in a way, it's quite important to have some of the image with us, so you can feel like more kind of blessed, or some support there around us. we are not alone. We are not alone, right? And when you feel sometimes some kind of loss, sometimes you lose, like what do you call it, like discouraged or some kind of uneasy thing going on in your mind, if you think about some of these enlightened beings like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, we have new one over there. It's really, this is like really precious thing, I think. I mean, of course, all of them, but they don't. It's a new thing, and then we have one new one. I mean, new old one doesn't matter. Maybe just aware why this is here. And that one is actually the North American Tibetan Association. I think 2 years ago, they offer like a long life prayer to His Holiness the Dalai Lama to live long, to continue his work, to benefit many beings. And they organized like long life prayer ceremony in Dharamsala, and then they have particularly made this picture. I don't know what is what. There's some significance there. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and it's actually Avalokiteshvara. Have you heard that? Avalokiteshvara means a Buddha of compassion. His Holiness actually is embodiment of the Buddha of compassion anyway. But they have put like their 4 arms Avalokiteshvara in the heart of His Holiness, and holding the, what is that? Vase like a pumba. I think it's hipum. It's a vase. It's a fill of nectar. Interesting one. So, and it's actually a gift from the Tibet House in Delhi for us. And Tibet House, a culture center of His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Delhi. And then this one is, we have the same one over here, the 17 Nalanda Masters. Have you heard? Arya Nagarjuna, Sangha, we will learn later. This one is just like a 17 Nalanda Master, the ancient India. We say the ancient India, the glorious time of India, which means the Buddhas and teachings of like very well established, or flourish in India. So because all these masters are from Nalanda ancient Indian Nalanda universities, and Buddha in the center, and then surrounded by all the Nalanda masters. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama actually particularly create this picture, and then he have written one verses to praising them, each one of them. And then on there's one verse written, I think in Sanskrit, Tibetan, English, and Chinese. I found this quite interesting actually, because the Buddha's teaching benefits so many beings in the past, not only in India, not only in Tibet, and also, I don't know, in China, much earlier than Tibet. So the people of China, and then I don't want to say anything about the politic thing, I don't know. There's some communist things there, of course, but when you're looking the people, when we meet the people, we're all same. So, Buddha's teaching so many it's a very vast, and there are so many different ways to learn, but if you summarize it, it's actually wisdom and compassion. And then you can elaborate like so many. What does it mean by compassion? What does it mean by wisdom? And then patience, six perfection. We call it 6 perfection or 10 perfection. So the guide on Buddhist way of life, Buddhist version, the Deva is included in this tanka, and we have also a smaller one over here. And so these are, it's a good kind of background, learning about the why we are having these pictures and the images, and because their work, their teaching is still very, very much alive in different parts of the world. And like America, Europe is quite, how many years now? Since 70s or maybe earlier, the Tibetan Buddhist teaching, start to come to North America and Europe. I guess it's late 60s or early 70s, I think. Because, they have this, what do you call it? They were saying like the pioneer for the Tibetan Buddhism in the West. There are some like a senior teacher, like Jeffrey Hopkins, who passed away, right? I was visiting his website. There's so much he have done, a lot. And then Robert Thurman, Alexander Berzin, Venerable Children, and then few nuns. I think 3 from America, I think, right? Venerable Children and Venerable Children, Kamalesh Somo. They are from the 60s. They themselves say like we are actually coming from the 60 hippies. I don't know what does that mean. And 70s, 60s, they come to Dharamsala, whether the Tibetan community or the Tibetan exile community established. The headquarters is in Dharamsala, and there's one place called Tibetan Library. Have you heard? Library of Tibetan Work and Archive, where His Holiness the Dalai Lama have opened like a learning center for mainly for non-Tibetan, meaning like those who foreigner, English-speaking people. They come, 70s, 80s, 60s. They come to Dharamsala. They may have heard like the Dalai Lama or Tibet or Buddhas or this kind of thing. They were exploring, India. What do you call it? Looking some spirituality. And then many of them actually end up in Dharamsala and attending classes at the Library of Tibetan Work and Archives. Now actually they're offering really like vast teaching, learning for the non-Tibetan speaking people, foreigner. So many of them are from America, Europe, even Chinese, Korean. So there are all these things happening. And then there are many like non-Tibetan speaking people like American, European. They are learning Tibetan language. And learning Buddhism in English or other languages also good. You can learn, but if you learn in the Tibetan language, it's much. There's people say there's some big differences are there because when you translate from one language to another. So there are. I'm not that linguistic kind of expert, but the heavinesses of the meaning, or like a Sanskrit, Tibetan, English, and if you read some verses in Tibetan and then English, you can tell the differences. When you translate into different languages, even though you try everything you can, even though you are really expert about the language, the terms and the grammar and everything, somehow this little meaning usually miss. So because of that, maybe if there is a way, if there is possibility to learn Tibetan language, it's really good. But not necessarily everybody have to learn Tibetan language. Of course, and everybody not have the environment, the time to learn Tibetan language, right? If possible, learn in Tibetan language and study. Like, when he's debating with these monks, like 1,000 monks inside. And you can tell, right, the differences between the language, right? Yes. It's really, there's big differences are there. But anyway, this is kind of, I don't know what you call that, some additional information on top of without tags. And yeah, it came actually about the visualization, generating pure motivation. The motivation has to be pure motivation, whatever in everyday life, anything that you do, the motivation is very important, especially when you're learning some kind of spirituality or teaching of different tradition. Now we are here learning the wisdom and compassion message from the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni, right? So wherever you see Buddha's image, it's just, to me, it's just symbolization of peace and compassion. So then I wanted to become like him or her, Ayatara we have at the back, right? So if there's possibility you can do or not, yes, definitely. And then the motivation has to be something that I need some kind of benefit from this. Benefit means that I want to make my mind better. I want to become a better person. It doesn't mean that you're good, not you're a bad person. There's always room for improvement. There's always room, even though we are a good human being, but there's always room that you can make improvement. That's how can you really do this? And this teaching actually gives us tools, skills teach us some kind of new instruction, new kind of path, new way of live life in nice way. So that's why having the pure motivation is very important. Learning Buddhism, the motivation, people can have the motivation to come. There are people who come to learn Buddhism. I wanted to learn Buddhism because I wanted to become a translator, or I wanted to become like a writer, or I wanted to become a teacher. There are people who come this kind of for motivation too, right? But I personally think, when you are learning Buddhism, it's my own attitude too. I go to class and listen teaching. I want to just make myself like more grounded people, and then you can share this kind of experience, this kind of like grounded people mean like wanted to become very simple way. I wanted to be a good human being, improving my own attitude. It take time. When you say like improve your attitude means not really the verbal and the physical. The transformation has to take place in the mind. And transforming mind is not easy. Learning intellectually is okay if someone is sharp, especially those who are who have the kind of educating in the modern way. They can pick up really easily. They can learn the intellectually, like they can be really articulate, putting like thinking together, saying things together, writing academically precisely. But when it comes to deal with it as something very practical, sometimes people freak out, even though they have like their whole like PhD or some different big title. So because why this is happening is transforming mind is not easy. So not easy doesn't mean it's impossible either. You can always make changes. You can always make changes. So because of that, the motivation should be that I want to benefit others as much as possible. If I can't be benefit, but at least I won't harm them at all, intentionally. But knowing, without knowing, I guess we do harming, because when you look at the Bodhisattva's way of life, it happened because this habituation coming from like I don't know many long time before the mind the habituation. When you say transformation, it's have to transform our habit and change our habit, right? And then these tools are really good. The motivation, I think, is really good to have the motivation to I want to transform my mind from negative to positive, and it cover a lot. And then we have to identify what are the negativities and what are the positivities, and how can you really rid of the negativity, and how can you really increase or expand the positivities. Okay, so the motivation should be, of course, people can become a good teacher, people can become practitioner, people can become a writer. Always possibilities are there, but the main thing is just try yourself, improve as much as possible our mind, right? Okay, this is the motivation, and then in order to be able to do that, we need some guidance, we need some blessing, we need help from many other beings, not only the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, but also surrounding ourselves, like your family, your friends, like place where you are working. We are human beings, we live in society, right? So we are all depend each other. And the teaching, I was actually telling about the wisdom and compassion. Wisdom, when you say wisdom is knowledge, and how to really expand your knowledge with the, like complemented with compassion and awareness or loving kindness. And these two has to go, like side by side. Do you get it? What do you mean? So my main point is motivation should be benefit yourself and others. Better put others before themselves but at least if you can't really benefit others, never harm. Make this commitment that I'm not going to harm anybody intentionally, or without knowingly. Could be, it could harm, like indirectly sometimes. But then it's good to try to make the judgment. Did I make any mistake? Looking at back, and then if you have made any mistake, then I'm not going to repeat again in the future. These are the when it says the mindfulness. These are, you need to check. Always have to look at our mind and then our action in the past and then the present. And then if you're careful with the, if something beneficial that you have done in the past, it usually help you to, move forward. And it actually automatically, the present will become kind of constructive. And if the present is constructive, it's something helpful, then the future will be helpful too. These are like cause, what do you call it, like cause and effect relation, cause and effect relations always there. So, I talk a lot, I think. I thought I'm going to do the verses refuge, but maybe not really necessary. Next time we will do, so verses to do the generating motivation or refuge or bodhicitta. Refuge, okay, I think we'll explain that. It's very important. What do you get when you say refuge? What kind of, understand you get?
Nothing.
I'm just asking. I'm just curious about, when you're taking refuge and generating bodhicitta, it's often come in the, when in the Buddhist teaching, like starting any teachers who, start teaching, usually you do, like the two actions, the first and then generating pure motivation and dedication. These two are very important. And then when you say generating, like motivation, it's include like generating, like taking refuge and bodhicitta. And then a refuge here. What kind of understanding you get when you say refuge? I'm just curious,
Nothing.
Nothing?
It doesn't mean anything.
Oh, really?
No, maybe people have different kind of understanding what is. Okay, what do you?
It's a safe place.
Refuge.
A place where you feel safe.
Refuge is a place where you feel safe. That's what you mean. You get understand, right? A refuge. And about when
Actually, that's what it means. You feel safe, and when you take refuge in the Buddha, it's like, it's not just you feel safe, but also you're relying on the Buddha's wisdom as you go forward in life.
That's nice. And how about you?
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
Refuge is peace of mind.
The refuge is peace of mind. Object of refuge and the person who take refuge. Can you make these two things out there? It's really good what he's saying. Peace of mind is refuge, exactly. And then what is, okay, what does it mean by peace of mind?
The
Not thinking anything.
person taking refuge receives peace of mind.
Person who take a refuge receive peace of mind. Good. And then?
So it's, to go along with that, it's also a seeking of peace of mind.
Seeking peace of mind.
But I also, when I think of refuge, I think of it as moving, and it could be with your mind.
Moving?
Or physically, but moving from a place of not feeling peace or happiness toward that peace.
Moving toward the happy and peace of mind. That's what you say, right? Okay. And what do you?
Security and like shelter.
Security and like shelter. Has to have like a house or a building or temple?
No, it could be like
Okay.
metaphorical shelter, like
Right.
Protection.
Okay. Protection. Yeah, refuge means protection. Protection has to be external or internal.
Both.
Oh, that's good. And What do you mean?
Well,
What do you get?
normally it doesn't mean much. It's not something that just saying refuge doesn't mean much. But hearing that answer about like a place of peace, then I thought about like an animal refuge, like an animal sanctuary.
Right.
So I think maybe it would make more sense to me to say not taking or going for refuge, but creating a refuge. That makes more sense to me. Like when we do refuge, we're creating a refuge, like a place where you're at peace and safe.
Okay, this is very important thing. You know, taking refuge or refuge. The word refuge in Tibetan language means like a kyap. Kyap means protection,
Yeah.
right? In Tibetan language, it's called kyap do. Take a refuge, or I seek a protection. I take a refuge in Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha. It means I seek a protection from the Buddha and Dharma and Sangha. And then there are different, the protection or the refuge, it have like a very loosened kind of understanding and then very technical understandings are there. And when you say I seek protection, there are among sentient beings who are seeking protection from externally, meaning like, for example, children seek protection from their parents or grandparents, right? When they are not really able to stand themselves. So the parent look after them. That's another protection, the different levels of protection. But then here when you come to the technical part of protection, external protection, Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, or when you say Buddha, you don't have to think about Buddha means someone who, of course, Buddha Shakyamuni who appeared on this earth like 2,500 years ago in India, and who was in the palace. He was born as a prince, like son of like a powerful king, and he had the palace. He had everything what he want for like ordinary life thing, luxury, anything that he want, he have that, but he found that it's kind of meaningless somehow. No matter what kind of wealth, or what kind of luxury, what kind of whatever the material thing that he was actually sitting in the palace, and his father was really protecting him, not taking him out, just try to protect him in the palace. Because have you ever anybody read about the life of the Buddha?
Yes.
Oh, good. The life of the Buddha. There's actually life of the Buddha. There's one. What was that? Series. I think 54, 5 kind of episode about the life of the Buddha.
TV series.
TV series, yes.
Wow.
In English, Hindi, I think Tibetan language. It's translated in many different languages, and it's available for free on YouTube.
Wow.
And then each episode lasts, I think, 45 minutes, no more than 50 minutes. Maybe if you watch like one one in a week, or maybe little, it's very, very good one. Actually, they say in India there's one TV series called ZTV. Do you know? Are you aware about that? It's quite kind of popular in a television show, and they actually, some of the the Indian celebrity people, they actually made the life of this Buddha. It's called Buddha. It's just called Buddha, and it's show about how he started his life from the castle and from the palace, and how he really run away from the palace and then become monk, become renunciate, and then how he really found the meaning of life. He wasn't really finding many meaning at the castle or the palace, even though they are surrounded by jewels, gold, silver, so many things, but it's just something, it mean nothing. It means not much. So it's really, really good show actually. So that's the real thing. So why I'm saying here is protection. I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Buddha who have discovered who have discovered the true peace of mind, what you're saying. You know, refuge means peace of mind, right? So how can you really, get peace of mind? By learning, by using your mind. But you need to learn, study, reflection, and then meditation will require to find true peace of mind, long-lasting peace of mind. Peace of mind have different layers out there. There are many, many different layers out there. So the real protection here is actually, when you go, when you study the technical kind of like a traditional or classical texts in Persian, professional wisdom, where the monks, monasteries, we study like 6 years, the whole course. It's kind of equivalent to like a bachelor in Buddhist philosophy. I think the third or fourth year.
It depends on which monastery.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the second year for us.
Right. We study in the third year, I think, where it has explained about the protection refuge. You have refuge, external people, or I don't know, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and in the different religion have like the name of the gods and different thing. And Buddha's explanation about Buddhas and Bodhisattvas can appear in different forms. And they can appear in very different forms and to help sentient beings. And where it says external, like protection, at the beginning, when we are not really able to stand ourselves, we have to realize, who was that? You, right? You said you rely on their wisdom and the teaching. That's a really important thing. You rely on the Buddha's wisdom, on Buddha's teaching. Buddha is like a doctor. How you use this kind of Buddha is like a doctor, and the medicine, the Dharma, is like the medicine, and then the Sangha is like a nurses or the health worker to cure your illnesses. So here, what is the illnesses? Physical illnesses not. It's illnesses of our mind. So then we have to identify what are the illnesses of our mind. Anger or aversion or jealousies. So the real protection is patience, compassion, bodhicitta. It's really mentioned, precisely mentioned in the text. You have the external protection who will show you the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, who will, guide you. We rely on them until we get, confident to rely yourself. And the real protection is actually your inner qualities. Have you heard that? Are you getting that? What do you mean? What I mean? The real protection is your own inner qualities. Taking refuge in I seek protection. Okay, protection means you need some help, right? When you say I need protection, do you feel like you need some help? Yes or no?
Yeah.
So help doesn't mean like food or clothing. Of course, you need to survive. These are practical things we needed, but mainly, if there is some danger to getting kind of, what do you call it, anger or jealousy or competitive mind, I think some of these stories are very important. His Holiness the Dalai Lama shares some story. These are really, really powerful things. There was one Lama, one teacher, a good teacher, in Tibet, and he was in prison for a long, long, long time, and he was tortured like very, very badly for a very long time. Maybe not let the name because, and in Tibet, he was in prison for a long time, and he was really tortured badly. And then somehow he was able to escape from Tibet to India, and he met His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And then he asked him, when we were in prison, what kind of difficulties, what kind of, problem, torture thing that you had to face. And his response was so interesting. And he said, yeah, there was a certain point that there was some danger that, occurring in my mind. And then His Holiness thought in danger. The word he used actually in danger. There was a certain point that I feel some danger, and His Holiness said maybe he was in danger of threatening his life or something. And what was the danger? And he said there was a danger that losing patient or did not really compassionate to the people who were torturing him.
I heard that.
That was so powerful, no? Did you get it? And the danger, I mean, if he lose his temper, probably he will flash back to this, the prison guard or whoever torturing him. Losing compassionate toward the person who is torturing him. That was the danger for him. Interesting, no? That really showed clear kind of inner strength. And that really clear kind of indication that inner protection is more important than external protection. So each one of us have this quality inside, and how do you really discover? How do you really nurture? That's the matter. That's a really interesting stories. I mean, it's not really story; it's a real kind of life experience. So if you respond with, what was that? If you respond with, like anger, it escalate. Yesterday we went to the what was that? Yeah, no.
UN.
No.
Oh, the Passover Seder.
Passover.
Oh.
What's that? The word, I have heard before. The Martin Luther
Liberty.
King. The Martin Luther King.
Oh, Martin Luther King.
Darkness cannot be dispelled by darkness. Only light can dispel the darkness. It's just one kind of verse. It covers so much. We can learn so many things from different traditions, different sources. It's not necessarily you don't have to like fix sort of, when you come to learn things, our mind has to be just opening very much, like we just keep opening 10 direction and then try to use all of our senses, the mental consciousness, and then learn from different, even like somebody will say like I can learn from little baby. They're pure. We can learn a lot from them. Interesting things are there. So my main point about the protection, what does it mean by protection? External protection and internal protection. Out of these two, internal protection the most important thing. Meaning, losing compassion toward people who are torturing you. It means courageous. When you say Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, so when you're talking the guide to the Bodhisattva way of life. Guide to the Bodhisattva way of life. Bodhisattva means someone who is really courageous to fight for other rights, to help others. You have to be bravery. Bravery not really killing thing or doing wrong thing. Be bravery to doing good thing. To bravery. Bodhisattva in Tibetan like Changchuk-sem, or it's another kind of word you often use like pao. Pao means like bravery, right? Pao like a hero, heroic, courageous. So that's, I was just curious about protection means. Of course, in the Buddhas, Bodhisattva, gods, Ganesh, and different, different aspect of protection, external protection are there, but the main thing is inner protection. If you were able to develop, you were saying a peace of mind, right? Isn't his name? Blair. Yeah. Yes, you were saying peace of mind, right?
Yes.
So peace of mind is very important to have peace of mind, definitely. But then, what kind of peace of mind? Peace of mind with full of kind of assertive alertness, with patient, clear, and you are ready to, do anything that you.
I would say it is
Yeah.
the lack of manifestation of the hindrances or fetters.
A lack of medicine,
So
manifestation.
at a certain point, you would want to eliminate them, but at least to suppress
Ah.
the hindrances, at least temporarily,
I see, I see, I
would
see.
be probably a definition of peace of mind.
Right, right, the hindrances, okay.
And the fetters in general, the 10 fetters.
Yes, so that's good. When you do meditation, you have heard about meditation, right? So we have meditation which try to specifically to generate kind of a concentration, what do you call it, like a shamatha. Have you heard that?
Yes.
More like a building up, like a single pointed meditation.
Yes.
And then also at the same time, not just building up single pointed is not enough. You do the analytical meditation, analyzing why you wanted to be like remain a single pointed. When we debate, in the traditional monasteries and nunneries, we debate a lot. Debate means we discuss a lot. And if you discuss, then you can sharpen your mind, sharpen your intelligence. At the same time, the meditation on compassion, patience, here the guide to the best way for life, where you teach about how to build up your patience strongly. Everything is more like analytical meditation. Analyzing, you need to analyze a lot. So the verse, actually, we go a few verses actually. Okay. I was actually looking in the Tibetan version. I think we will, later on we will go one by one from the beginning to the end. And this is the like a commentary of the Tibetan teacher. Have you heard Lama Tsongkhapa? Okay, we will do later. And his main disciple Gyaltsab Rinpoche, he have written this commentary of the Guide to the Birthright Way of Life. And this is the Tibetan version, and I have the English version. And it has all in details. So maybe we should go like a systematic, slowly. And I found this English translation. And the verses, when you're looking at the verses itself, sometimes it's quite difficult to get it. Sometimes it's easy to get the meaning. But if you go to the commentary, it's very, very, it gives really the whole picture about that. Okay, 1 minute. Verse number 131, right?
Sure.
31. Verse number 31, it says, hence everything is governed by other factors, which in turn are governed by others. And in this way, nothing governs itself. Having understood this, I should not become angry with phenomena that are like, what is that? Apparition.
Apparitions.
What is, I don't know this word, I'm sorry.
Apparitions.
Apparition means what?
La.
La. Topu. Trupa. 1 minute. La. True Kansai. 1 minute. Okay, I'll check with the Tibetan version here. Okay, tether tamji jingi wanti, wangi tewame, tether shine, do the pimubu on the tumigure, I see. Toa, ale toa. Okay. Okay, verse number 1, verse 30, 31. Maybe try to understand the meaning of this verse 31. And tether tamji jingi wanti, wangi tewame. This is the Tibetan version where he says, hence everything is governed by others. factors, which in turn are governed by others. And in this way, nothing governs itself. Having understood this, I should not become angry with phenomena that are like apparition. Okay, when you see here with this a phenomena, but you do not really get angry with like a table. Maybe some people get, right? Because you use the phenomena, right? But we often get angry with people, or maybe like animals or some others. But sometimes there are some people who get angry with the things too. But that's foolish, right? Would
Bump your head.
Would you say? Yeah. Would you say like foolish? I would say foolish, right?
Yeah.
So when he says, it's sure that what this it says that this is actually very deep. It goes very deep meaning here, and we need to do the reflection about that. What does it really mean here? And taking just a simple example that if you have some kind of disturbing mind occurring you, for example, annoying for someone. Okay, this annoying is occurring in my mind because it has some causes and condition must be there. So you can't really, what do you call it? So you are getting angry, or you are annoying for somebody. It has the causes that some causes and condition that create that. And how can you really rid of that causes condition? Rid of means like how do you really overcome this? How can you really overcome this? The anger itself is caused by the causes condition, but then you can really minimize. You can remove the anger because it's produced by cause and condition. And then the opposite, which is practice patience, also it's possible that you could create it. And it has a really deep meaning over here, but here actually explaining that any anger or uneasiness or any kind of annoying thing that's happening is to just look at them as like illusion like, and which means you have to understand that the interdependency of the cause and effect relation, interdependence of the factors, the many different factors that it's actually happened to you to become a kind of anger with somebody. But then these are just illusion like, it doesn't really last for ever. You can get rid of it. It's illusion like. Do you know what you mean by that? Are you getting a little bit about what is illusion like? It's temporarily there. It won't be there forever. And to looking at that as illusion like, you need to study more about how the interdependency work. You have studied about interdependency, right? Interdependency, you don't know.
No, I don't think we talked about it in class that much.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, not that much.
Anyways, so maybe we will just interdepend. In Buddhist teaching, the interdependence is a very big thing. Everything is governed by interdependency. Because if he said others, right? Everything's depend on others, which means like nothing come by itself. The way here. Hence, everything is governed by others' factors, everything governed by other factors. Okay, I will give you this interdependency. Maybe good to understand this. You have interdependency of cause and effect. There are three different levels of interdependencies. When you say everything everything is governed by others. Governed by others. I don't know this translation, but it's maybe good or not. What do you think?
It's good.
Everything is governed by others, which turn are governed by others. And in this way, nothing governs itself. That's true, yeah. Nothing come to being by itself. It's come by cause and condition, which means everything comes from others. So because of that, we are so much related to each other. There's no because of related to each other, because of kindness of others, then there's no room for you to get angry with those people because they are so kind to us. So they are really, it's conditioned to us to be our own existence in a way. And this, having understood this, I should not become angry. I should not really get angry with the particular person because if you get angry, it will destroy yourself instead of those other people. Because when you get angry, we won't be able to even if we won't be able to enjoy while you're eating or communicating with people around you. So it's only destroy yourself. It only destroy your own peace of mind. Not only peace of mind, but also they create whole chaos. So because of that, maybe better try to create the conducive kind of cause and condition to make harmony, to make more kind of patient harmony, care each other instead of getting angry. Responding with anger. If someone show you anger, if you respond with anger, it will escalate. It will increase, and then at the end, it will completely chaos. That this is what really happened. So each individual can try that, and then you can influence that to your surrounding. This is what this main thing I think. With the apparition, right? It's like a stirring up another kind of word. Mare, tu balana. In Tibetan words, it's actually tu balai tua. Tua so tua. Tua actually how do you pronounce apparition? It is actually this another word of anger. In Tibetan word is toa.
No, that's not. It means like an illusion, like you.
No, ngobu kuna tumigur.
When it tomigurs, then I should not become angry.
Yeah, tomigurs do not really become not become angry.
So that's in the line above.
1 minute. In this way, nothing governs itself. Having understood that, I should not become angry. Okay, sorry. With the phenomena that are like, I see. Okay. Illusion like. Okay. It's how do you really respond with more like a gentle way rather than anger? I think we need to do our own kind of experiment in everyday life, right? Do you try to do these things?
Yes.
That's wonderful, really good. I try my best. I used to have a little short temper in a way, but I can tell some changes are going slowly.
Try and fail, but
what was that?
try at least.
What was that?
Try and fail, but at least try.
Try, exactly.
My experiences usually are many times, but not always.
Yes, we have to try repeatedly, I think. So that when you try repeatedly, then you need the joyous effort, and all the chapter of the Sangha Books of Way of Life. If you try repeatedly try it, not only forcing yourself, but with enjoy, with enjoy effort. If you try to practice patience and with alertness, mental alertness, and joyous effort, and with the pure motivation to benefit oneself and others, which is the chapter 1 and chapter 2. All this chapter, meaning the content of the chapters, all related to each other. You can't really just make one by one, like separately. It's all like connected, like a web. So then joy effort should be there. The motivation is the altruistic mind, or the pure motivation should be there. And then the mind should be like more kind of clear and sharp, which is the mental alertness, like introspection, or the mindfulness should be play in role in there. Otherwise, the progress won't be that kind of effective. So it's good that we're repeatedly doing, and then we fail sometime, definitely. That's okay too. Nobody is perfect at the beginning, and we can't really expect like perfection from the beginning, or maybe one lifetime is not enough, but at least we can try, since we are a human being and we have met these teachings available online, offline. There are people around us who have this interest to learn, and even though we fail, that's okay. It's worth to be fail. Why not? Instead of doing hell, if you're doing something else, then it's good to be fail. Why not? Failure is the best. What is that? Succeeds, right? You can put it make you work harder, in a way. Okay, so I need to go more detail about this verse meaning. Because illusion, like in the Tibetan, the commentary is actually giving the whole thing, and then I can go to the English translation of this teaching itself. I have the PDF, this one, so we'll go more in details later. So for the, I think it's already what usually you go like 1 hour, right? And then we could have a Q&A session thing. Okay, it's only 5 minutes, and what would if you haven't, if possible, sometime we could memorize some verses. They are very useful. Some verses, about how to tackle with anger, how to, 1 minute. If you just read through, I think you have the PDF of the text, right? All of you have the PDF? No.
I have it, but I don't remember why I couldn't.
Okay.
Those
Don't worry. Don't worry.
I will. I can still do that.
And then we'll share the PDF. Then maybe we'll print it out. And some verses, if you just try to memorize them if you have time. Just one verse for a week. You can memorize in 1 week 1 verse, and then do some reflection, and then try to read some of the commentaries, and wherever you go, just think about these things a little bit. Just try, repeatedly try, even though you fail. Repeatedly try, and then if you keep trying and reading these verses, and then just try to understand the true meaning. How can you really relate with your own kind of experience? Of course, you can't. At the beginning, it's not easy to relate to your own experience straight away. But if you look really closely, it's all related to our own mental, attitude, or our own kind of, our own situation. Because the Bodhisattva, like a guide to Bodhisattva way of life, the Bodhisattva Shantideva actually just give the very practical thing. Do you know the story about Bodhisattva Shantideva, how he composed this story, this text? You haven't heard of this story?
No, we did.
Did you?
Tell it once.
Yeah, I think
Lhadron
did the,
Missed it.
Oh, yeah, it was when you
it's
went
very,
there.
very important thing. Why? Maybe I'll just say briefly once again. He was the top meditator, top scholar at Nalanda University at 8th century. He was the 8th century masters. and he was a monk and at the Nalanda Monastery, Nalanda University in Bihar in India. And what he does, he, superficially, from the, what do you call it, like, by looking at from externally, he is just sleeping, eating, and defecating. There's no like Dushisumpararura. So people are thinking that he's just useless because people don't know what he was doing. He was meditating. He was practicing the Bodhisattva's practice. But there are people who are not really smart enough to acknowledge what he's doing. Instead of like respecting him like the teacher, but what they were doing, they were just making fun of him. And then if you have got like a nickname, kind of nickname, Dushisumpa. Dushisumpa like how was it? Dushisumpa. Really. Dushisumpa means he's just known of like only 3 things. What are the 3 things? Eating, sleeping, and defecating. That's what many of the others, not all of them, I guess, many of the others, think of that. And then what they have to do is at Nalanda University, every month, the monks, they have to do the, like a confession, refreshing their vows. And then twice in a month, and then one, like a monks have to recite the sutra of the confession. But those time we say this reciting, but you have to give teaching. There are some in a sutra that you need to recite, but mainly you have to teach. You have to give teaching for the whole congregation. And then it was like his turn to give the teaching and the recitation of the sutra. And then they said, you have to do it. And then he agreed. When they asked him, tomorrow is your turn to give the teaching on the refreshing of the vows of the monks, and he agreed to do that. And then what they did was they make fun of him like somehow, and they put like a throne, very high throne without any stair, very high throne without stair, and so everybody was kind of like prepared to laugh at him or somehow. Something kind of planning was there. And then he noticed something is not right. And it's very high throne, no stair. And then he entered to the temple, and then somehow what he did, he had a power. He has the mental power. What he did was he just, pushed this like with his hand, the throne threw down, and he just sit on the throne, and nobody actually noticed how did he got there. And I was so surprised, what happened? And then he gives the teaching, the 10th chapter, Guide to a Bodhisattva Way of Life. How do you really maintain, like a good conduct with all these teachings? And he started giving this teaching, and then it was so profound. Everybody was so amazed. Wow, how come this? The person who is known as like only 3 things, who know only 3 things. In Tibetan, the Dushisumpa means something is like, like making fun of them. And he started giving the teaching, and then some people say like a chapter 10, and he actually flew away from the temple and disappeared into. And then those times there are some practitioner who have some clairvoyance. And they can hear, even though he was like, flew away from the fire high in the sky, they can hear that he's still teaching. So because of that, you can't really make fun of any other people, any other living being. You never know how their mind is, how the realization, on the realization of them, nobody know. And you often find like the very most good teachers who are very humble and very, very keeping very low profile sort of thing. So this is the story, I guess. Summarize it?
Mm-hmm.
Very beautiful, actually. Really, really beautiful. And why we need to know this story, they are, like a good role model for us. role model.
Mhm.
Use them as our model, best role model for us. So yeah, okay. So I think what I was saying is maybe you just recite. Memorize some verses would be good. It's homework. It's not really burden, but if you have interest, if you really think that something you really need to learn, maybe read from the beginnings. Actually, some of the texts, some of the verses are very easy to understand. Some of the verses are very technical. I think this one is quite technical in a way. Yeah, but
It has good verses too.
sorry.
It has some simple verses to memorize.
Yeah, there are some simple verses, and then we can very easily understand
And
self-explanatory.
then the next text that you'll start in 2 weeks it's just 37 verses, the entire text. And
Yeah,
this one is hundreds of hundreds,
Yeah.
right?
yeah. So it's good to just whenever you have time, read through a little bit and then memorize thing, and then try to. But be very what do you call it, assertive and be smart. Not really, some people get too excited and then jump to no. That's not happen either. Just very gradually, and it has to change gradually and naturally. Whether you want to find a peace of mind, whether you want to really increase your compassion, you to increase your patience, and we are all kind of attracted to these things, right? Practice patience, joyous effort. Bodhicitta means like a noble mind, like a good heart, altruistic mind to benefit others as well as yourself. If you benefit others, oneself included in that. And of course, you have to sometime challenging come. Often it says like someone who are really trying to do something good for the like a larger society. These people face a lot of challenges. That doesn't mean it's obstacle. It's challenging means that your test. I think it's like testing how kind of strong our determination is. The more challenging we face, the more our determination should be stronger rather than discouraging. If you discourage, what do? Drink and smoke, or I don't know. Some people this kind of thing do, right? And then you destroy not only the mind but also the body. Then everything becomes kind of chaos, right? Okay, so I think we should stop talking, and if you have something other question we could do. If not, we could do some dedication, some verses down there. But if you have any question, I think we have time, right? Are we okay with time?
Is it Wisdom Publications, the book? It's not Wisdom Publications? Who publishes it?
It's the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives.
In Dharamsala.
Oh,
This particular translation, there's about 5 or 6 existing translations, which all of them are fine. Yeah. So
Okay.
Wisdom probably does have one. I'm not
Wisdom
sure
may
about.
have their.
I think I've seen it on their website
Okay.
advertised.
Okay. This is actually the earliest kind of translation that I've done by, I think she's French, was like a student bachelor in Library of Tibetan Work and Archive in Dharamsala. And many people use this
Well, it's
translation.
British,
I think it's a good, translation or what. But there are a few other, like translation available. Doesn't matter, whichever work for you, Yeah. Any question? Could be anything or related to thing. What was that?
Maybe online.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I think they're gone already.